Hello there, my name is Adam Sutherland. I'm a fiddle player from Scotland, in case you don't know me, which most people in the world definitely don't, but here we are. I am here to interview this wonderful, wonderful human being here about his contribution to my second solo fiddle album entitled Some Other Land. And the person here on my left and your right is the wonderful Steve Forman. Hi Steve.
Hi Adam.
How are you today?
I am fine, thank you.
That's good. Okay, as you can see, as you can hear, Steve has an accent. Steve, where are you from?
I don't have an accent. You all have an accent. That's the problem. I'm from Los Angeles, but I actually live here in Glasgow now.
Yes, I meant to say we are in Steve's beautiful, salubrious, gorgeous West End mansion here in Glasgow, looking out over the Botanic Gardens. He really does have a desirable residence, or a des res, as I've heard it called. Anyway, I'm here to ask Steve about his contribution on my album. Steve is a percussionist, and he has a long and expansive and extensive career behind him, and presumably ahead of him as well. Anyway, and
it's downhill.
So I've got a couple of questions.
Sure.
Steve, you've had a massively long career, as I mentioned before, and one of the things that interests me about your career is you make and have created many of your own instruments. Percussion, and Steve actually has some of these instruments here today. And I'd like to ask you just a little bit to explain some of these instruments. Do you mind if I reach down and just
help yourself.
grab some of these instruments? Steve improvises with what he sees around him. So, as mentioned, we're in the city of Glasgow here. So Steve has made a couple of interesting little numbers here. I'm going to show this one to you here. Steve, perhaps you can tell us something about this.
This is the Glasgow edition of the 35 CL flask. Actually, this is not my invention. I just adapted it. This has been around at least since the 30s.
Okay.
And one of my favorite, one of my inspirations is a guy named Spike Jones, which I don't know how well he was known here, but before World War II, there was something called novelty bands.
Right.
That used to tour around off Broadway and outside of Belleville.
Were you touring in that time?
Well, they were touring in buses in the backs of cars, but Spike Jones and his ilk made a lot of their instruments, and that became kind of models for me later on when I got interested in sound effects for films and stuff. And this is one of them. This is just a flask with water in it. So you can actually tune it by changing the angle. And I like it because it's sort of a sound somewhere between a woodblock and a bell. And it moves. Anyhow.
That is cool.
Yeah. They're better doubled, I noticed.
What have you got in this second bottle? What did you have?
This is called Sainsbury's Scotch Whiskey.
Classy.
Don't ask me. They don't even spell it right. But
how did you empty these bottles?
Well, originally we used to just do it the old-fashioned way by drinking it.
So you truly have adopted Glasgow and Scotland.
Yeah.
Sounds like.
Well, that was some time ago. Let's see. So it's nice when you double the sounds and thirds and stuff. Hard to do though.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Those are flasks.
Okay, cool. And so yeah, as I mentioned, Steve played percussion on a few tracks on my album here. He was like the icing on the cake, the final layer, and really, really privileged actually to have Steve adding his wonderful stuff. So can we look at some of the other instruments that you played on the album?
Okay, well, we used this on the record, I think. This is a Mazda phone, and this is also another original instrument. Things like the flasks and this thing here, which is called a Mazda phone.
A what?
Mazda phone, because it's made from a Mazda hubcap, but it's a 1968 Wankel engine Mazda.
Cool. Does that give a particular sound that year?
Yeah.
Quite eerie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first one, this is like, I don't know, this particular iteration's been with me for some time. Probably made a dozen of them over the years. And the first one was a hubcap that I found in the LA River, which is a joke in itself because it hadn't had water in it for at least 20 years by then. But it was just a concrete ditch. But things would wash up in storms. This washed up, and I just put some screen door springs on it. And it became that.
What other projects have you used the Mazda phone?
Oh God, I probably used this on more records and particular film effects. It's a standard. Lots and lots of records.
Can you share one or two of those with those people at home?
Hall & Oates was a record that we used this on their album. Probably a lot of stuff with Lee Ritenour and Friendship. It's just kind of like standard equipment for me. But it's become kind of like a stock item for percussionists in Los Angeles from film scores anyway.
Really?
It's just kind of, it's sort of stock right now.
And you were the first progenitor of that?
Of this particular version. The instrument itself, technically, if you want to think of it that, this is a recaphone, or hecaphono. It's a Brazilian instrument, and usually I hadn't seen one. I didn't even know what it was. I had just heard the sound on record.
Okay.
And I made this to function that way, and the pattern that they would play would be. It's like a güiro, but it's anyhow. That's kind of like stock samba instrument, and usually you'll see them on tubes. But I didn't know what it was. I hadn't seen any at the time I was listening to this stuff way back when. But it sounded like springs on some kind of car parts. And it turned out when I got to Rio de Janeiro, that's exactly what it is. The guys would use manifold covers and things. And it's a stock Brazilian instrument, but this one, because of the hubcap resonator, has this really nice white sound, which with the right kind of echo on it, it's very nice, very effective in recording.
I think we ended up using that at the very start of track 9 on the album, which is a tune of mine called Sushi 78. We both love sushi. Who doesn't love sushi? Anyway, that's great. So, what else have we got in the box of tricks down here?
Well, we have, I don't know, shakers and kashishi. This was on your record for sure. Shakers and kashishi. Things like that. Lots of bells and triangles and tinkly things.
Cool.
Oh, and we use the gong.
Yeah, this is one of my favourite things that you do.
In fact,
can we have a listen to this?
Yeah, let me see. This is a sound that we used in the beginning of, is it The Wizard?
Yes, I believe so.
You know, where there's all that ambient stuff. Anyhow, this is a regular flat wind gong.
Makes me feel really emotional.
Oh, good.
I know, it's beautiful. It's almost like whale song or something.
As a matter of fact, it is very similar to a whale song, and it's used a lot for those sorts of effects.
Okay. Have you used that particular effect in any of the films that you provided effects for?
Lots of times, actually, quite a lot. It's a very popular sound, especially probably in the opening title sequence of E.T.
The opening title
It's just
sequence
all gongs like that.
of E.T.
Yeah.
And that was you.
Yeah, that was my contribution to E.T. The first 40 seconds or so before the movie starts. Once the movie started, I was history. You never hear anything from me again.
Is it true that Steven Spielberg was considering casting you as...
That's absolutely false. No, complete. You made that up.
It's just a rumor I heard.
I don't think I've ever met him really, personally.
Right. Well, unlucky for him. Okay, I might just finish off with just one little question. Steve, you've had a huge long, illustrious career spanning many decades.
Till I came here, and then it went.
Well, I was just going to ask, is working with me on this album, does this kind of feel like your career is on the return journey now?
Nah, it's quite the contrary.
I don't think I really believe that. It's nice of you to say.
Okay,
so.
to be perfectly honest, it was really a lot of fun. It was not only working with you, because you and I have been working together more or less casually for years now, and it's always fun. We love it. But it was really nice working with the rest of the guys in the band, especially, with Kopi and
Ian Copeland,
yeah,
Scotland's premier jazz drummer, I would say. Lots of words were coming to mind there.
But working with the producers and the guys on the record in that capacity, that was a lot of fun. Just doing the work, because I mean, this is what I've done for so many years, is like work on people's records. So it's really fun to be doing it with people that I care about.
Well, I'm really, really, really delighted to have had you on the record. And do you have any final bit of almost sage-like advice for people at home? Doesn't even have to be about music. Just what can be your parting thought?
You are what you do.
You are what you do. Cool.
Not necessarily what you think.
Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is Steve Forman, and we'll see you again. Bye.
Bye.